Yo, what's going on, boys? Quint69 here. How are you guys doing today? Unless you've been living under a rock, the Diablo IV beta, closed beta, double down beta, or I don't know, premium non-poor people beta has just ended. There was 3 days and you got to play 3 classes. That was the Barbarian, the Sorcerer, and the Rogue. I've been playing the beta, including queue times, about 16 hours a day. And I've been trying out everything that is in the beta. So we're talking itemization, systems, open world, testing all, just looking at the graphics, the settings, the control, literally everything, right? I've just been consuming as much, just copious amounts of D4 to try and really get a feel for the game and then hopefully give some good feedback. And this is what that video is going to be, right? I'm going to be hopefully giving you guys like my first impressions of the game and then maybe some feedback, because that's what the beta was for, right? They were stress testing and then they're also looking for feedback. So here we go. Now, I need to preface this video with, depending on how you look at the game, will massively change your take. You could either love it or you could fucking hate everything about it. And that is because it's called Diablo IV. And what is Diablo 4? That's Diablo with a 4 next to it. Okay, that means Diablo 3. So, okay, well then, of course I'm going to compare it to D3. And then there's Diablo 2. Yeah, okay, these are all ARPGs you're saying. So, yeah, I'm going to compare it. And then, what's the top ARPG on the market right now? Path of Exile. Let's compare it to Path of Exile. And if you do this, and you constantly make comparisons, you're going to find there's some massive disconnect there. Because you're going to be going, well, look, this game has this. Diablo 4 doesn't even have that. This game has that. D4 doesn't do this. And that is because you are comparing a digger that is just digging a hole and digging dirt to a fucking lawnmower that is cutting grass. Okay, yeah, D3 versus PoE. You kind of like 2 lawnmowers. Okay, D4 is doing something new. Well, it's kind of an amalgamation of mini games, but it is not trying to be the Diablo with a new number on the end. They are trying to make a new game. They're taking a lot, pretty fucking big risk actually by doing this. And you need to cast that constant comparison brain out of your mind. And then you need to look at Diablo 4 in a vacuum and be like, wait, am I enjoying this game? Like, is this fun? What's going on here? And then on top of that, different people have different scoring systems, myself included. Do you like to rate games on, the level design, the leveling experience, the fucking lore, or are you like a turbo nerd gamer who only doesn't care about any of that shit and only cares about endgame, itemization, and crafting? A perfect example of this is I've been watching a lot of feedback videos. I've been consuming a lot of Diablo content. Asmongold, he rated the game an 8.5 out of 10. And I guarantee you, if I gave him different weightings for what he thought was important, if I said, okay, rate the game on these factors, he would give me a different score. And now, what I'm getting at is that I myself have massive biases, right? I know what I like when it comes to games, and when it comes to ARPGs especially, I am this game is not just I'm playing through for a story. This is I'm playing it to play this game for literally thousands of hours. So I'm sitting here looking at the systems and the fundamental seeds that are being sown, like saying, is this going to make me want to just log in and play this game forever and ever and ever? So, this is going to be that. I'm coming from this kind of perspective. Looking at D4 as its own entity, as its own game, but then kind of looking at the more hardcore aspects of the game. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, how the hell are you going to rate a game and its systems based on a level 25 beta whenever you're on a level 25 and you can't, what could you possibly know? This is just the starting of the game. Okay, no. Bro, in the beta, okay, you have every skill unlocked. You can see the open world. You can see the dungeon system. You can see the, the questing system, the main quest, the world bosses. You get a really good idea of what you're looking at, right? And using a little bit of extrapolation and just basic logic, you get a pretty fucking good idea of what you're dealing with. But there are pretty large unknowns, like the Paragon board system, and a few things about, like season mechanics and other things that could massively change things, which I will talk about later. There is a lot of things that I want to cover. This is actually a very intimidating video, and hopefully you guys will make it through. But yeah, there's going to be a category system. We're going to talk about pretty much the entire game, from aesthetics down to endgame, and we'll just do it one category at a time. Wish me luck, boys. I'm going to do my best. Let's start off with something that Diablo 4 is doing right, and that is the graphics / aesthetics, okay? And let me tell you, they did not miss, okay? And I'm not some sort of shill, but goddamn, the graphics of this game are just stunning, okay? When it comes to ARPGs, honestly, I don't think anything even comes close. That's just a fact, bro. Just the fidelity, how it looks, the shadows, the lighting, the frame rate, how smooth it is, all that shit. Hey, it looks amazing. I mean, you just zoom in on any part of the game, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, the mechanics, like, you can walk around in the snow, and it leaves, like, trails. You can literally draw a cock in the snow. All the critters, you can smack them with your sword. Blood splatters across the ground. The bunny falls down the cliff. And then don't even get me started on the aesthetics. Obviously, aesthetics are completely subjective. You might like cute little bunnies, and you might like some stupid-looking weeb trash where all the females have titties that are just enormous, and they got massive fucking swords 5 times as big as their character. They're clipping through the ground. Hey, and D4, let me tell you, they still do some shit. They got characters that look really nice. They can even show some underboob. They can show some underboob, but they don't have all that ridiculous shit. It just looks good. And they don't go overkill either. They don't go, oh, let's give people fucking flaming masks with a fucking thing rotating around them like that, just floating dildos going around, all sorts of like fucking huge wings that are flapping about with the eraser footprints. I'm talking about Path of Exile, right? They hit this really nice spot that aesthetically is honestly one of my favorite. It's not cartoony either, like Warcraft, where you kind of like, or Diablo 3-esque. It's kind of real, but dark and gritty. And honestly, it's my favorite aesthetic. You call me a vegan, whatever. I love it. All right. And they absolutely did not miss. In my opinion, the only thing that would even come close to the aesthetic of this game would be something like Warhammer 40k. And I get the same energy. When you look at a really cool Warhammer 40k figurine, and you're like, God damn, look how well that's painted. Look how cool he looks. And you're looking around, and you're like, holy fuck. Like, it just feels precious to even hold and even look at. And you kind of get that vibe just looking at your character in the game. Like, you could, if you could get that as a model, you want to put that on your shelf. That's how cool it looks. The sound design, the atmospheric sounds as you're going around, outside of a little bit of jank going through zones and stuff, is pretty damn good as well. So, it's very immersive, adds to, like, the dark, gritty kind of tone. I would, though, be a little bit critical. Boss fight music, bro. For Act 1, mid. Fucking mid. All right? I don't even know. Even the final boss fight for Act 1, I don't want to spoil it or anything, but goddamn. That sound... Did it even have a soundtrack? It was so unmemorable. Just question mark, question mark, question mark. Hopefully that's some shit that they've just got to add in, and it's just a beta thing. And I'll also add in, when it comes to, like, the Return to Darkness, maybe I'm a sick fuck. Maybe I'm a little bit too morbid, but in D1 and D2, they got dead, naked people, okay? And I don't know what it is about that. You're like, God damn, they're dead on a pike, and she's naked. And you're like, there's something like, ugh. That, and for whatever reason, D4, they're going to show me super ultra high fidelity, blood everywhere, guts, literal torture scene. They're stuck in a fucking device where they've clearly been tortured. But they just don't show the naked people. Why don't they? Because I feel like that would really take it to the next level of, holy shit. But other than that, honestly, dude, graphics and aesthetics D4, you can't really... Bro, I don't think anyone even comes close to that shit. 10 out of 10. All right, now let's talk about the lore and the cutscenes. Now, you have to take into account that I'm not a lore/cutscene Andy. If I'm putting more than 1,000 hours into a game, it's not because I just really want to play the story over and over again. But 100% a good cinematic, for example, the by 3 they come, that shit can get you hyped for a game. And that's, Blizzard aren't missing. The cinematics, like that by 3 they come one, is top notch. It's given me the chills. I've watched it 3 times now. Still fucking amazing. The new one where they have Lilith fighting an Arius. Again, really impressive, really crazy stuff. But hey, what does it do? It maybe gives me a little bit of immersion and gets me a bit hyped for the game. They now have in-game character-specific cinematics where your character is literally inserted into like a cutscene itself. Now, it's a really well-done cutscene. It's like it's in-engine, in-game, real-time, but they have lots of facial expressions and emotion, and it really is cool. And honestly, the thing where it puts your character in there, providing you haven't got a really stupid-looking character, it increases the level of immersion. The story. Again, I'm not a big story guy, but I'm following along with the current, Act 1 story, and it's pretty interesting. They give you a bit of information about a few of the characters, and they're really kind of developing the characters, and, they're posing a lot of questions. I don't want to do any spoilers, but, you want to find out, like, what's going on with Lilith? Like, what is she even a good guy or a bad guy? Like, what's even happening there? I mean, she probably may be bad, but I don't know. She's kind of getting some mommy energy from her, you know what I'm saying? The voice acting. People have been criticizing it a lot and saying, oh, everyone sounds like they're from, like, Russia or somewhere from Eastern Europe, and they think it's bad. Speaking as a Kiwi, whatever, dude, I think that the accents, they sound like they're all supposed to be from a particular region, and they sound like they're supposed to be foreign. I don't think they're necessarily bad by any means. And of course they're going to sound like they have a regional dialect. Why wouldn't they all sound kind of the similar, if they're all in this one zone? I fully expect when we go to the other zones, we'll have different accents and different voice actors. And not to mention, the voice acting of some of the main characters is really good. Specifically, hey, who's voice acting Lilith? Because, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay. Now let's talk about something that's a tad more divisive. Monetization and Diablo IV. Obviously, this game is a game made by Blizzard Entertainment, who also just recently released a game called Diablo Immortal, a phone game that I played, and let me tell you, it had some of the most predatory and aggressive monetization I've ever seen in any game ever in my entire life. I mean, bro, that game was literally worse than straight up gambling. It was like gambling, except you can't even win. It's rigged against you. And if you do finally win, you'll be fucking poor. Okay. Now, Diablo IV is not Diablo Immortal, obviously. And they've said that Diablo IV is going to be, quote-unquote, anchored around cosmetics. Which is kind of a little bit scary in itself, the fact that they haven't outright said, hey, guess what, guys? This game will never be pay to win ever. We're not going to make it better. They're not saying that. They're doing this diplomacy Andy thing where they will literally put themselves in a position where, you know what, fucking if later on down the track they feel like going and changing their mind and then just making the game pay to win as fuck, they could, which honestly, it scares me. But for the moment, they've been repeatedly saying that many times over, it's anchored around cosmetics. Hey guys, it's gonna be cosmetics. Don't worry, it'll be fine. So I'm gonna take them for their word, and currently, the game's not pay to win. Now, the way they're monetizing the game as well, where you had to buy the game, then you also are going to have the option to opt into battle passes, which will be cosmetic only for the bought stuff of the battle pass. There will be power in the battle pass, but that'll be free. They'll say it's free, right? because what they're doing is they're training you like a dog to go to this interface part where they're going to show you your free thing that you collect, and then there'll be like a swipe here to, unlock your, look how much stuff you've unlocked that you could just get just by swiping your card, right? Which, okay, they've got battle passes. And then you also purchase the expansion itself, which is, I mean, at least they're not making us pay a subscription fee as well and then selling us gold, right? Because that would be insane. But what I'm worried about is, like, is the Battle Pass money that we're going to... So we're going to buy the game. Okay. Then we're going to buy the expansions. Okay. Whenever they're making content for the game, are they going to save all the good shit and then put that into the expansion box and then just give us, like, some shitty cosmetics and some mid-season shit? Is the Battle Pass money actually, are they going to have a separate development team that's developing stuff for the seasons, for the people who are spending money on the Battle Passes to support the game? So then, they're giving us all this extra content, and then we also buy the expansion and we get even more content, new classes, all sorts of shit? Or is this just Blizzard just trying to extract as much money as humanly possible out of us? I mean, don't get me wrong, I am all for a system where the game I am playing, the live service game I'm playing, is earning money, and then because they're earning money, they're like, oh yeah, this is a good investment, let's keep adding features to this game so people can keep giving us money. So then, it creates a loop of like, we give you money because we're happy with the game, they give us content back, and then, it keeps going like this. And not just some bullshit they add into the game to try extract all our money. Because you say, well, who cares of the Battle Pass, right? It's, it's only cosmetics. Well, that's detrimental to the game, right? In my opinion. If you can get a mount from a store or a Battle Pass or whatever. Oh, there is also going to be a store, by the way. I forgot to mention that. There will literally also be a store in the game where you can buy shit. Which, again, I'm trying to cope. I'm like, stuff in the copium and the hopium, like, oh yeah, they're gonna use that store to fund content creation for the game, right? So they're gonna be making more shit, right? But there's a massive downside there, right? So every time they add some shit into the store, they add like a really cool looking mount in the store that you buy. That is now just devalued every mount cosmetic in the game by some amount. It's quantifiable. I don't know how much, but you just basically make all cosmetics in the game lose a bit of value. And you gotta hope that they're using this money that they're trading in, because they're trading in value in their game. Like, literally, they're reducing the fun of a cosmetic hunt for money. So you gotta just hope that they're then using that money to then create stuff in the game. Ultimately, I'm not poor, so I don't really care too much about, like, this shit. All I care about mainly is that, hey, is the game going to be pay to win? As long as it's not pay to win, I'm kind of okay with it. Now, I can totally see how, if you don't have as much money to spend, I am memeing, but like, yeah, whatever. If you don't have as much money to spend, it might be a little bit annoying to have to buy the game, buy the expansion, and then maybe you're going to miss out on the battle passes, and then maybe your friends have some cosmetics. But bro, who cares, bro? Some guy's walking around with this pay piggy armor. I mean, bro, it's not, fuck that shit. It's just cosmetics. Hey. The point remains, as long as the game doesn't go pay to win, I think I'm okay with that. But still, this whole... I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. I think there is a reality where they're like, you know what? We're not earning enough money from D4. You know how we've been talking about anchoring our shit? Let's actually just anchor our shit to some pay to win so we can extract more money out of these little piggies. And then they just go ahead and just trade in the rest of whatever's remaining with the Blizzard brand for as much money as possible, right? Now let's talk about the user interface. Holy shit. What the fuck happened? If Diablo 4's aesthetics and graphics are a 10 out of 10, like supermodel, super pretty, ultra nice, the UI is a fucking wart transplanted on top of a nose. It is just disgusting. When I opened my character screen, I for a second there, I thought, what? Whoa. Did someone just install Diablo Immortal onto my computer? Is Raid Shadow Legends booted up in the background? What just happened? Why is 1/3 of my screen covered in just useless shit information that I don't care about with the ultra bright colors and some sort of a console layout designed to be controlled with, you know, a controller, right? And the answer is because it was designed for consoles, right? Diablo 4 is a console game that they made for consoles, and the entire user interface is made for consoles, and they've got these huge elements which you can navigate around with, you know, a controller, and that's how it's designed. Like, and then they've got that shit, and then they just transplanted it onto a PC, and the net result is you get this really weird, like, juxtaposition between this awesome, gritty, dark, cool universe with this user interface that it just doesn't mesh well at all. Like, there's small little things. Like, I want to open up my clan to see who's online in my clan, right, or something. You know, I expect to see like a small window up here with, you know, some columns and rows with the various characters, their class, their level, all that shit, and I can just see everyone's online and what's going on. You know, maybe a little scroll bar that I can scroll down, whatever. Okay, not like a full screen blow up. One clan member takes up 40% of my screen. Okay, I'm being hyperbolic here. I can see 3 total clan members, and I've got to like go down tile, down tile, down tile. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of whenever Windows tried to like get rid of the start bar and put everything to like some grid format. It just feels like that's the whole game. Even like doing various actions in the game, you know, like leaving a dungeon or something, you have to bring up this radial wheel, which is designed for you know, a controller to select things instead of just, you know, just make a fucking user interface for PC gamers. Obviously, this is coming from the perspective of a PC gamer elitist. You know, some console games are alright, you know, but generally speaking, PC is just way better. Give us a proper UI. Give us like a action bars, like a second action bar where we can put on those various features, not some radial wheel. Let us hide elements. I mean, bro, when I open my character screen, okay, I'm just sounding like I'm bitching right now, but like, goddamn, what the fuck? Why are you showing me like attack and defense with some life and some random attributes that I don't care? Like, how come to see the stats that I actually want to see, I have to open up a side menu, then go from my craft materials to like open up another menu to then scroll down past some other shit to then start actually seeing the stats that I want to see? Again, it's because they're designing it for a console, and on top of that, they also, I think they're trying to keep it simple because they don't want to overwhelm people. Because if people like open up a character screen, I guess, and they see a lot of numbers and shit, they're like, "Oh, numbers are scary. Whoa, this my mind might explode if I see too many statistics." Which I guess they're trying to hide and keep it simple, you know, so it's not as intimidating. Again, which, because I guess I'm a hardcore gamer, I don't give a fuck about that shit. Hey, just go ahead, just redo the whole UI for computers. Okay, come on, just redo it. Other small things, like I guess for console gamers, they want to see their map, right? So whenever you bring the map up, it's like a full screen map, full color, very minimal transparency. When you look at the map at the top right, it's 0 opacity. I haven't seen any opacity options. Just this block up the top right of your screen. Like, why can't I turn off elements of that map and have a transparent version? So I'm sitting in front of my $10,000 computer with my, you know, monitor in front of me. I want to just have like an opaque map at the top right so I can see monsters behind my map whilst also knowing where I'm going, you know? Options like having a little, the ability to turn on an overhead health bar of like, I want to see my life and my resources. So like, if I'm a rogue, I want to see like a little green slither above my character's head, you know, with another sliver to show me my energy and maybe some comma points, right? Some basic stuff like that, which would be good for computer gamers. Obviously, as a console gamer, if you're like sitting back at the TV trying to see a little green bar, it's not going to be a big, which is again why I think they didn't include it. Little things like it would be awesome instead of having the you know, the console dash key, the whole evade key. just let us drag that shit onto our bar, right? And have it like a skill, and then it just gives it an additional skill slot, stuff like that, you know. Just basic PC gamer stuff. Also, the full screen pop-ups, bruh. It randomly comes up during the beta, like pre-purchased Diablo now, which is for these guys, I guess, who bought double downs to then purchase the game. I'm really worried, like, am I gonna log into D4 and it's gonna be a full screen ad? Battle Pass sale 90% off. Like, is this gonna be happening? Because that's another element of the user interface that honestly scares me. The fact that you guys have the ability to push these full screen ads whenever I log into my game. Monarch ass. Overall, UI, I'm gonna rate that shit at a 2 out of 10. I'll give it, it's not the, what, 2 out of 10. Itemization in Diablo 4. Okay. Upon logging into the D4 beta, honestly, my expectations were low. So, you know what? I was pleasantly surprised to actually look at my weapon and then see on the weapon description, hey, it's got an attack speed. You know, that's nice. It's got an attack range. Oh, that's cool. And, you know, there's an affix there. Cool. Right? You know, it wasn't just attack and defense. Although, attack and defense absolutely is still in the game, and all they did was, you know, just rename it from attack to attack power and defense to armor. I mean, it's literally just armor is a Trojan horse containing defense. It's just generic damage reduction. They made up some RP story about defense. You know, we wanted armor to randomly mitigate like magic because we felt like it was unfair, and we're just trying to protect you. Bro, it's just defense. Okay, Blizzard, stop with this fake news story. Yes, it's attack and defense. It is what it is. But you know what? Hey, I logged in. I saw some damage range. Not wanting to immediately just close the game. So I'm continuing. You know, I'm getting items drop on the ground. Up arrow, I equip it. Up arrow, equip it. A few hours later, still just kind of like seeing up arrows. I'm equipping it. Getting kind of bored. Not really even looking at items at this point. Like, there's just item power, which just arbitrarily makes items better, like on average, when they have high item power from killing higher level monsters. So you just, generally speaking, if you haven't looted a pair of boots in like 5 levels, when you drop another pair of boots, it's just a better version. Now, at the point where rare started dropping, well, they're not really rare once you get into the game, you start doing dungeons, you start getting items that have plus to skills in them, which it says like +1 to Hydra. And then once you equip the Hydra item, guess what? Your Hydra skill goes up by a level, and now your Hydra does 10% more damage. And you're like, hey, this has got a plus to skill that I'm using on my character. This is good for me, and you equip it. And honestly, that feels good. Now, honestly, that is basically the only affix that I can feel like that I was like, wow, that feels good. Well, almost all the other affixes in the game, I mean, I don't know them all off my heart, but it's like increased damage to enemies that are far away, increased damage to enemies that are close, increased damage to healthy enemies, increased damage. You get the idea. It's just lots of kind of generic damage increases that are conditional and, you know, generic, but, you know, to the point where you maybe have, like, if you're playing a ranged character, you might have a few different affixes than the guy someone playing melee. Obviously, you're looking for plus skills and all that stuff, but ultimately, it was coming down to get an item that has the skills that you're using on it that's got high item power with decent rolls. And I got really bored of the itemization really fast. And my feedback would be is make more affixes that are like the plus to skills, aka things that work specifically with your build that are obviously good for your build. For example, a roll that said fire damage, increase fire damage, right? So you're playing a Hydra build and you want fire damage and damage over time. Let's say there's an affix that just said fire damage is increased by 20%, damage over time with fire skills increased, or whatever. Okay, and then you find an item that drops with 3 stats that work perfectly with your build. Hey, now you're going to be like, wow, that's good for me. Or say, you know, you find another item that drops and it has affixes that are really good, but for another build, then you're like, wow, this might actually compel me to log in and play another build. And I feel like what I guess I'm asking for is just the generic affixes in general. They should just scrap half that shit, like half that, whatever Destiny 2 console affix, whatever the fuck it is, like the healthy, and just put in some stuff that's more specific and more obviously good for other builds. I mean, and it doesn't, I'm not saying complicated, crazy shit. Like Diablo 3, dude, if you found a pair of gloves that roll with crit damage and cooldown, and then you're like, damn, that's a really good item. I could even roll the dexterity off the area damage. Now I got a quad pick the pair of gloves. You're like, that's a little bit exciting, you know? You get a cool item. And don't get me wrong, maybe the more I interact with these affixes and maybe higher levels, there's new shit that's more compelling, and maybe I'm just not playing. I just haven't really like investigated to see, oh wow, there's actually massive differences. But from what I've seen, they're pretty generic. If you have a build that's got gear for a wizard from attacking far away or whatever, you're generally going to be able to unspec out of whatever you're playing currently and just spec into something completely different, and all that gear still works. Which then, to me, is just homogenous, and it's like, what do you even... Like, come on. Legendary affixes. Some of the legendary affixes I really like. These ones they're generic and they can synergize with your build. Like, for example, the one that says, when you hit an elite for the first time in 30 seconds, it gives you a barrier. And this could synergize with the build that's scaling barriers and wants good barrier uptime, for example. But then a lot of the legendary affixes felt awful. And these ones, or the ones I'm about to talk about, are the ones that were just mandatory damage increases for whatever skill you're using. An example would be, you're playing a Hydra build, there's a affix that says +1 Hydras. It literally just doubles your Hydra damage output. Like, you're playing a Hydrate build. Am I going to use those gloves? Yeah, you're going to use those gloves. Okay, you're going to equip this item, because you're an idiot if you don't. And guess what? The ability itself is balanced around these items existing. So you're just literally, it's just like a set bonus that's not a set bonus. Which just feels bad because it doesn't feel like you're making a build, you're just doing what the devs intended. A much better design would be something like +1 to summoned units. So it would work for anything else. I don't know if there are any more summon unit skills, but like say in the future they add in a new thing, a new totem skill, right? Which is a summon unit. Oh, guess what? This summoning thing now works. You know, they don't have to create a whole new set of legendaries for that specific new skill. There's all these legendaries that will be like a lot of them. Another example, Whirlwind. There was a Whirlwind legendary that just said, oh, you just get more crit chance. No, not even more crit. It just scales your flat crit up to literally 80% more crit. So you're critting 80% of the time, zero investment while using Whirlwind. I mean, bro, who's not using that when playing Whirlwind? Why is that legendary not saying, oh, every second that you channel skills, you gain base crit, and then this just works for everything. And say they add in more channeling skills in the future, now you've got more options. And you're effectively making a build, and the dev isn't just telling you, oh, just you're playing this build, then equip the items that have that thing on it. Now, I'm less offended by things like, let's say, it's like non-damage, so utility-based things where it augments an ability to function differently. That's less offensive to me. But even then, if it's possible, for example, there was one that said Whirlwind periodically sucks enemies towards you. That's not as offensive to me because you could theoretically not use that, but still you could again change that design to be when you're channeling periodically you suck things towards you. So then it basically opens up many combinations, and then it also simultaneously future-proofs your game. So that means when you add a new ability in the future, because I'm assuming you're going to do that, right, Blizzard? You're going to add more abilities in, right? Then you've already got a plethora of choices, and people will be like, oh, which legendary am I going to try first? Not, oh, let me just go equip the 5 legendaries that have the same skill name on those things and play the build, the set bonus that you've made that's not a set bonus. Item bases. So there are some items that have like, instead of, so there'll be a pair of boots, they're all called boots. And you might have a pair of boots that says increases evade, cooldown recovery, and another one that says gives you an extra evade chance. And, you know, you'll have like various items that, you know, increase your health potion or make your health potion do stuff differently. I feel like there's definitely an opportunity there to actually make more, you know, different item bases that do different things depending on what you're trying to do. For example, like various swords that are better for crit, various weapons that are better for bleed. So then not only are you looking for an item with like, you know, good rolls and everything, you're also looking for a base type that synergizes as well. So then it's like, it creates that feeling of, oh, this item is really good for me, or oh, this item is really good for another build, which, you know, again, it just gives players another way to min-max their character and feel like they're really making a build, because I feel like that's what's missing. Also, another thing I noticed, which this is probably going to trigger people maybe a little bit, is like when I'm playing an ARPG, generally speaking, your character is a problem. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's like, okay, I need to make a character, and I need to have enough attributes to equip X. I need to have some way to recover my life. I need to have some way to cap my resistances. Need to have some way. It's basically you have to solve all these various things, and then, you know, if you can also do that and then make it do damage and survive, then you've won, right? You've effectively, that's the fun part of like solving a character. And what feels like in D4 is you're not really solving anything. There's no attribute requirements. You know, you've just got this global defense that makes your character more tanky. I feel like they could definitely give us like one thing which you have to solve per character. Because right now, items just kind of make you better. You know, your character's good, and it will always be pretty good because everything's scaling to you, which I'm going to talk about later. And you're just kind of like making your character a little bit better. And it would be nice if there was some problems to solve. I'm not saying like, hey, let's put cancer requirements on everything and let's make mandatory shit. I'm saying like, hey, you know, if there was attribute requirements, or if there was resistances, or if there was certain things that like a checkbox that you had to tick to like be like, okay, I have to have this, and then I can build whatever I need to make my character. There's one item that I forgot to talk about as well, and that is uniques. We have not seen those. We've had a couple of examples, but they're supposed to be ultra rare items that are actually build defining. And you know what? From the couple that we've seen, they look pretty decent. And maybe, you know what? That could be some of the better itemization. You basically get one unique item which you can equip that will augment, and they'll be like build defining, which, hey, that's pretty cool. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. How can I talk about itemization without talking about crafting? So in Diablo 4, how do I put this? Yeah, it's basically the same as Diablo 3. You can get an item, and then say there's an affix on the item that you don't like, and you want to re-roll. You take it to a fucking person in town. You put it into the window. It costs gold to roll it, and also some resources from a higher difficulty that we didn't have access to. I don't know if that resource will be rare, but effectively the gold cost will ramp up every time you roll it. So if you're trying to perfect that item, maybe it costs a decent amount of money. So maybe a little gold sink. I was really hoping that they were going to give us some extra method for crafting. Like, you know, hey, let us lock something in and roll something and then give us a bonus stat, something, right? Something that was going to give us the ability to have a little bit more control over what we're making. You never know. With seasons, they effectively could do a crafting mechanic. You know, that could be a thing. So you got to that's kind of like what I'm hoping, I guess, is maybe they're just putting this in as a baseline placeholder, and then they're going to expand on it. You know, fingers crossed. There's a jewelry crafting system. Again, it's just Diablo 3. You get 3 gems. You can make it go 3 to 1. You can then get those gems and make them into better gems. And this is like a big pyramid scheme. I don't know what the best gem looks like, but they all looked, you know, a similar sort of thing. You put the gem into your jewelry. It does something different if you put it in your weapon. It does something different if you put it in your armor. And, you know, gives you a little bit of customization, which I actually like that. It's nice. I'm not saying it's a bad system. Like, I'd rather have jewels and jewel sockets than not have that, because it allows you to kind of lean into your archetype just a little bit more, you know? They also give you the ability to extract a legendary power and then put it onto another item. And you can do that one time. So you can once you destroy an item, you get a power, it's called an aspect, and you slam it onto a rare item, and then it makes that rare item legendary, which means, yeah, you basically have the legendary powers you want. And again, this is kind of like it's kind of like Diablo 3.5 in a way, where instead of just getting a legendary power and then putting it in the cube, you're kind of getting a legendary power and putting it on your item. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, because it kind of makes items feel less special. And it means literally every item you have is legendary as well. So, you know, legendaries aren't really that legendary. It's just kind of like the standard. But, hey, it is what it is. It gives us an ability to customize. Again, I'm not sure how I feel about it. There's one thing that's a little bit scary here, is that there's a decent amount of gold sink here with the crafting of the items costing gold, and one thing is you can trade gold. So I don't know if crafting is limited by gold heavily, and gold is actually hard to obtain considering the amount of gold sinks in the game. Are we going to have like RMT problems with people being able to fully trade gold? Just putting that out there. Now let's talk about build customization. So, Diablo 4 has a skill tree. It's kind of like Diablo 2, except a little bit easier to understand, which I'm totally okay with. The tree itself, makes sense. You start off, it doesn't overwhelm you with a bunch of stuff. It's simple enough to understand. You know, you go through your spec stuff, and it's a good baseline to start from. But my major gripe is that, can you add some more shit on there, please? What I mean by that, and because I see people saying, well, what are you complaining about? You get a whole skill tree. It's way better than Diablo 3. Okay, bro, they literally just got the skills from the skill page and put it onto a tree. And then instead of getting 5 runes per skill, you get 2 runes per skill. Okay? So, I don't think it, it's going to was Diablo 3 too complicated? No, it wasn't. It was simple enough. All I really want is just, get what they have on there now, and maybe beyond each skill, they could just, double the amount of options we have, or even have a little mini tree behind each skill. You could even, I was even thinking about it, you could even hide that component and say when you hit level 50, a new mastery thing unlocks where you can master like 3 skills, and it unlocks a special talent tree for each skill where you can further augment the ability and how it plays to diversify your build from someone else's build. Now, they may actually already have a system that kind of works like that. Whenever I interviewed Joseph Pipiura, he said one of the lead game designers at Diablo 4, he said, yeah, we want the skill tree to be simple. They're not claiming that it's going to be crazy or anything. They basically want to onboard gamers and get them in, just playing the game, and then slowly introduce more mechanics. Now, will the Paragon board be the savior for the skill tree? From what I've seen, no. From what I've seen like a few screenshots of the Paragon board, and it looks super generic, just literal attributes and generic damage increases. But that was old info, and that could be placeholder, and maybe we will get some sort of skill mastery, skill augmentation, crazy shit that enables us to have, thousands of builds. Or maybe I'm just coping. When it comes to classes and their masteries, so rogues get the ability to have basically combo points, which honestly feels like quite natural. It honestly just feels like you just have combo points all the time, but whatever. Or something called Inner Sight, where it just randomly marks people, and then as long as during a boss fight, if you can hit the marks guy a lot, you just get infinite energy, and it's kind of broken, but whatever. It felt super, I don't know. Didn't feel like I was customizing. I'm pretty sure everyone's just gonna go, the one that's best. The barbarians got like an arsenal system where, your maces would have more crit and more damage, and your swords would have a little bit more bleed damage. So you could like level up your various things, and maybe you would basically choose to build around certain weapon types to like accommodate your build. Which I like things like that where you can customize. But honestly, again, it felt quite passive, and I don't know really how much different, like a barb that's mace spec is going to be my barb that is sword spec, you know, so to speak. The Sorcerer. Actually good game design. I really like the Sorcerer. Sorcerer, dude, the Sorcerer's ability where you basically, you pick one of the abilities that you have in your bar and you put it into a slot. And then based on, you know, what it's been put into, you know, what ability you chose, it'll give you a different effect. That either could be passive, that just like, you know, arbitrarily makes you do a little bit more ignite damage, or it could be something that says, oh, when you fall below fatal HP, you cheat death effectively, which... What are we doing with cheat deaths, Blizzard? Come on, don't do that. But what? Okay, regardless, there was many options, and it did genuinely feel like, hey, I can make a build that's kind of a little bit more unique here. Like, bro, straight up, they could just make some new shit for wizards. Like, just make some new wizard bullshit, and just give that wizard system to everyone. Because that's like, honestly, it felt the best to make builds on the wizard simply because the wizard mechanic was the most interesting one. You know, because you had actual choice to kind of feel like, yeah, you can really lean into a build that you're trying to make. All right, now let's talk about something that Blizzard does well. Gameplay. How do I put this? The gameplay is clean as fuck, boy. It is nice. When you try and do the thing you're trying to do, it does the thing you're trying to do. And what I mean by that is, you know, you can see a fucking thing on the ground that's coming towards you. You press your button to get out of the way. Your character gets out of the way. You know, you're currently doing an ability, and then while you're doing that ability, you realize, oh, damn, I want to move after this. You can then press the button to move. Your ability still goes off, and then you move. Not where it feels like laggy or clunky or QE, but it just feels smooth, bro. Maybe it's because I've been playing so many indie games recently that it feels so smooth, but goddamn, I honestly, when it comes to the actual just game engine combat, I think Diablo's looking pretty good, pretty top. It's definitely top tier, right? Top tier. Not to mention that fact that there's a lot of really good feeling abilities, right? A lot. For example, on the Rogue, you have this thing called Shadow Imbuement, which means your next two abilities are powered up. And whatever you hit is imbued with shadow. And when you kill them, it does like a big explosion. And you can basically, you know, pull a bunch of monsters together, generate 3 combo points, shadow imbue, and then use like a big attack, like a penetrating shot. And then as it goes through, boom, 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 it fucking explodes. And they set off chain reactions and they make this huge, clean, like nice sounding poof. And it really satisfies the autism of like, you know, doing that. Except it's not where... You can just teleport one shot. You know, you have to set this shit up, right? Which, again, is another thing that I like about the gameplay, which is the whole micro of actually playing the game instead of it just being some macro, like, cookie clicker shit where you're constantly just teleporting, one-shotting. There's a lot of microing, which I like. What can I say? I'm a Diablo anti-chat. When it comes down to it, micro, you know, moment-to-moment combat, that's big. But now let's talk about some of the stuff that's not so good. Level scaling. Exists. So basically, every time you level up, the monster levels up with you. And the result is, if you don't like literally get a big level up where you get a decent power spike from your attribute, the monster just got stronger than you. So you're actually getting weaker and weaker. And then eventually you'll get a gear upgrade and you go up, but then, you know, it keeps leveling up and it kind of balances back out again to the point where you kind of never really progress. So, I get why they do it. It's so people who are playing couch co-op, like your boy who's like 20 levels lower than you, can play with you. Bro, just fuck that guy. Like, screw him, dude. I was thinking about an alternative system where perhaps the lower difficulties of the game, like the noob mode, where they could have level scaling enabled in that mode where, fuck, anyone can play with anyone. You can do whatever you want. It's a clown fiesta. Hey, have fun. But then as you go higher difficulties, maybe a certain threshold, it just disables level scaling. So then you don't have that constant feeling, you know, where you're getting weaker. More like the monster is static level, you kind of go through and you get stronger as you level up, and the monsters don't follow with you. But I kind of feel like that's kind of maybe a big change. But maybe in the future, you never know, maybe a big patch. Another thing about the gameplay that I'm not a huge fan of is you get like progression and gold and items and shit from like clicking stuff in your interface. It reminds me of I played a Harry Potter console game recently where you had to constantly go in and claim shit, and it's the same shit where it's artificial content where they create like a bunch of like they give you a bunch like you need to get 30 of these and 10 of these and 10 of those, and once you get all these things, then you get gold and a point, and I don't know. Can't we just get shit from killing stuff or doing quests or like? Why we gotta do this mini like mobile phone fucking interface panel shit? You know? Hey, just a personal gripe of mine. There's a weird rubber banding issue whenever you go through zones. You like try and phase and your character just starts like fucking lagging out. And I'm assuming that is a part of the beta and is not gonna make it in, but I gotta put that into the feedback. Another little thing is, why are keybinds locked out at any points? Like, are console players' brains really going to explode if their keybinds aren't like? Can we not? You're limited by the amount of skills you have at the early game. Just let us drag our abilities to the keybinds that we want to have them on. You know, like goddamn, or even just have an option in the settings that says advanced mode. You know, you can drag your abilities wherever you want at the beginning. You're not like have to hit some random level before you can actually like change your keybinds. There's also a small issue where the left click, when you basically want to change the left click keybind, you can't have interact and force move on the same key, which is just a massive oversight, which I assume they're going to fix that one, but I got to put it in. There was a meta of literally doing quests that basically, well, not quests, doing events that would reward you with like blood shards effectively to buy legendaries and good gear with, and then you would teleport to town, teleport back in. It would reset, and you would do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And it'd quickly make you want to, like, log out, right? So, obviously, I think they should totally disable the ability to, like, repeatedly do the same event over and over again. Because guess what? If it's efficient, people will do it. Pack size inconsistency. I don't want them to make every single fucking room just stacked with monsters. That's stupid, because then it turns from micro gameplay, like you want to see individual telegraphed attacks and actually dodge and play the game, right? But certainly, occasionally, we should see big density. And you, right now, outside of like clicking shrines or certain events, you don't get that giga density. I feel like you could totally have a little bit more juice, you know, in some of these maps, or well, I call them maps, but some of these dungeons. And then on top of that, there's often times where you're like, you walk into a dungeon and you've literally ran 3 screens and there's not been a single monster, and you're like, okay, well, what's going on here? So then you need to look into the code that is, you know, controlling the pack size, in my opinion. But I'm not saying perma 24/7 density. I like micro, right? I like moment-to-moment combat. Like, don't get rid of that shit. You know, a few hard, difficult enemies at the same time, or even just one guy. You know, fuck it. Difficulty. What's going on? The game is too easy. Even on the veteran mode, at the very beginning of the game, no gear, nothing. You can just stand in every mechanic the boss is doing and just chug health potions and just attack, and you will win. Like, that's stupid. Come on. Veteran mode, make it harder. Now, I'm not saying you need to make the easy mode harder. You can have, like, the Braid Finder difficulty that the people who just want to go through and do the lore can go through and do the lore. Like, one of the benefits of having multiple difficulty tiers in a game is that, hey, you can just easily tune that shit. Just straight up, make veteran mode harder. Something that I felt like, and a lot of other people also were saying, maybe this is just like a Reddit anti-comment though, but, bro, can we just get another skill slot? Straight up. It feels like all the builds, I always wanted one more ability. It was always like, oh, this is really good, but now I don't even have enough room. I have to drop like to get something for, you know, I couldn't fit in my ultimate with all my other shit. You know, oh, my build would be so much better if I could have this one extra ability. It would be pretty nice, hey, if we could have an extra skill slot. But ultimately, if you don't, you don't. It is what it is. It's just another constraint. Which, you know, constraints are good sometimes. A thing that Crip made me aware of, apparently, is there's no grace periods when you go through dungeons. That's a massive problem for hardcore, where if you come out of a dungeon, the game lags, and there's a bunch of monsters outside, then you're just dead. Or You just come out of a dungeon and just get instantly gibbed by someone deliberately pulling monsters to the beginning of the dungeon to kill you, or to kill just random players to basically troll, which is just stupid, right? We should have at least a 10-second grace period, or just a grace period until we start moving when you go in and out of an instance. The potion system that exists in the game, where you basically can level up your potions, or they just Blizzard tunes your potions, and like at random level caps they get better, and you just pick up potions off the ground, and like bosses drop potions at certain thresholds. I don't know if we had too many potions or if the game was just too easy, but generally speaking, the only time that it felt like intense or fun was when my potions were low. If my potions were high, like what I realized was, oh, wait a minute. As long as I can just do enough damage to the boss or the mob that I'm fighting, right? To just constantly get another potion before I'm dead, I can just sit here attacking the mob until until it's dead. As long as I just keep chugging potions, which it felt like potions are maybe a little bit OP. And I don't know if they need a little cooldown between each use, or if they need to be slightly nerfed, or you just need to make the game a little bit harder in general. I don't know. It's an interesting system though. It's kind of like a mix, kind of like a D2 kind of vibe. Now let's talk about the open world of Diablo IV. Yes, Diablo IV is an MMO as well as an ARPG. And honestly, it's really MMO-ish. Like, when you are not inside of a dungeon, when you're not inside an instanced area, okay, it literally feels like World of Warcraft. Same energy. Like, if you've kind of got to max level in World of Warcraft, and then you're kind of running around, and you've got, like, world quests spawning around, and, you know, oh shit, I've got a world boss spawn. Like, I haven't killed the world boss, so I need to log in. Yeah, it's exactly that energy. You're in town. You can see people in town walking around, just salvaging gear, just putting stuff in the bank. You can inspect their gear. I believe you will be able to talk to them, because in the beta, for whatever reason, we couldn't talk in the local chat. I don't know why, but we couldn't. Maybe it was just Oceanic only. They didn't want to have the toxic Oceanic frogs talking with each other. But yeah, it's really MMO-y. The thing that scares me is the trappings of MMOs. Like, am I going to have some bullshit that requires me to log in and do my more dailies and then farm out my Torghast and then go and, oh, my world boss cooldown reset, and then I've got to actually do my weekly heroics, and then I've got, you know, all these chores to do effectively, where it changes from a game to this thing which has all these fucking artificial hooks that try and keep you on the game. Like, no, you're not going anywhere. Because I hate that. When I play MMOs, and when I stop playing them, it feels like I've quit a job and I have all this free time. When I play ARPGs, it never feels that way. I can just log in, I can game when I want to game. If I want to log out and go do some other stuff, I don't feel like I'm missing out. And that's the scary thing. Now, whenever I interviewed some of the Diablo devs, we couldn't post a video, unfortunately. They did say, no, we're not going to have all that bullshit. You'll just have like you just see people in town. You know, when you're out doing an event, you know, you're going to have people interacting with you. And to be fair, that's kind of what it felt like. So I'm kind of like, I'm open to it. And honestly, I like World of Warcraft. I don't mind MMO shit. But I'm worried that it's going to turn into some bullshit where we have a bunch of dailies, weeklies, various things, and, you know, we're just chained to the game, so to speak. Okay, now let's talk about Endgame. What will it look like? So, from what we can tell, basically you'll finish your main story, you'll finish your quests, you'll go around and you'll kind of hunt all these little statues, kind of like Makoko sees at a Lost Ark. You basically look around and you find all these statues which gives you permanent buffs. There'll be various things you need to complete to effectively get your reputation or your renown up to get other permanent account-wide buffs. And then from that point on, you're going to have world events, and then you're going to have dungeons. And then on top of that, you'll have world boss, and then you'll have, you know, the nightmare dungeons, which are effectively Mythic Plus, or kind of like maps from Path of Exile, if you're a Pee-wee gamer, where it's a harder version of the current dungeons that exist, and then because they're harder, they give you more rewards, and as you go through higher ones, you know, they get harder, and they even get more affixes. We don't know what all the affixes are going to be, as far as I'm aware. They weren't in the beta. But yeah, you'll progress through a nightmare dungeon system effectively to the point where you get to Nightmare Dungeon 100, and then I guess you win at that point. Which is kind of a little bit scary as the dungeon system itself. The dungeons don't feel very unique. A lot of them feel very samey, like there's just like a corridor with a larger area at the end where you have something you've got to interact with or do, or you get to a door you can't get through and you have to run and get a box and then take the box to the other box. And then, actually you need 2 boxes, so, oh shit, you actually ran past one, now you gotta backtrack and get that box and then bring it back up, and then you get through the door, and then, hey, guess what? There's a boss there and you kill him. PogChamp. Sometimes it's like you have to destroy some altars, and you destroy altar 1, altar 2, and altar 3, and then, hey, PogChamp, you can now go through a door and there's a boss there and you kill him. Sometimes you get the same thing, you kill all 3, and then it just says dungeon complete and there's no boss. And you're like, what have I just achieved? Okay. What I'm saying is the dungeon system can be improved massively. They're not very unique. A lot of them are just annoying. And yeah, really, I don't know what. I really hope that we can have a decent dungeon overhaul before the game is actually released live. Otherwise, I think people might get bored of that shit really fast. One of the positives, though, is that, guess what? In D4, there's a Paragon system, but it's going to be capped. So, hey, that's a plus side. So you won't have some infinite grind that never ends. You'll effectively gear your character up. You'll level it up to the Paragon cap. You'll get it kind of perfect. You'll progress, and then you'll kind of get to this point where it's done. And then you'll be like, hey, I've completed that character, and you can move on, or you can do whatever. What I think they need, and what I hope they're going to include, and we haven't seen yet, and that is static content. I want endgame dick measuring contests, right? I'm talking like a very hard boss that is very hard. Like, I'm talking like as hard as the hardest nightmare dungeon, except it's static. And so if you've beaten it, then everyone knows you've beaten that thing. Like Joe down the road, if he's beaten it, you're like, oh damn, Joe's got a big dick. He's beaten that boss. Or damn, how do you even do that? Is it even possible? Can you even beat it? So I'm talking static, even maybe static dungeons, some special dungeons that are the same, that have some rewarding element, like some big long epic one with some crazy boss fights and shit that are static. Things that you can really measure, like, oh, how's my character doing? Example would be, I don't want to say, Path of Exile. They have some really nice static bosses. Look at Shaper, for example, and then look at Elder, look at Uber Elder, things like this. The Maven, you can basically do these static bosses, and you can feel like, damn, my character's OP, or damn, my character's not as good as my other guy. What can I do to improve him? All that stuff. I feel like that would vastly improve the end game, is if we have some sort of thing to measure our characters with. And then, maybe I'm hoping too much, but even some aspirational shit. Some giga hard, ultra boss, uber bosses. Hey, you know what? You don't need to put that in straight away, though, Blizzard. You can put that in later in the season. It's fine. There's also going to be a little bit of endgame, and that'll be cosmetic farming. People are getting rare mount drops. So, I mean, I think I can think of someone in particular. I don't know. Some of your boys? Some guy anyway who likes to farm mounts, and I'm sure that's going to be very entertaining. Like, hey, there's areas where you can farm particular mounts from rare monsters. I don't know. Maybe that could be pretty cool. And then, ultimately, why am I not playing some ARPG right now? Why am I, what keeps you playing a game like Path of Exile, for example? Okay, sure, systems, all this other shit, but the main thing is content, seasons. The big thing that could carry D4 and its endgame could be the seasons. And after talking to Joseph Pipiora, we did like a conversation. Again, we couldn't post a video. It was pretty promising. I'm going to paraphrase here, but let me just read this off. He, quote unquote, we want there to be crazy stuff during seasons, new ways to get power, completely new systems that make you rethink how you interact with your character, monsters, character/monsters. For example, augment how gems work. And they're going to be completely designing seasons where they can remove them after 3 months. They don't want to bloat the game. If there is a season mechanic that is very well received, they could potentially tweak it and then reintroduce it into the game again. Because basically, again, they don't want to add in tons of power and have giga power creep. Seasons won't just be the seasonal feature. They could do several of the following. Spruce up certain areas of the game. Introduce a new monster type. New quest lines. New characters in seasons. New bosses. New pinnacle challenges. Oh, holy shit. New tile sets. Live events that could only appear a month into the seasons. I mean, hey, that shit gives me actual hope as well. Because let's be real, chat. Even if the game like somehow like flops on a bunch of these other facets, if they put in good content and the game's fun to play, that could totally save Diablo 4, right? I mean, it's not even need to be saved. I mean, the game's gonna be good enough, but this can make it really fucking good, which kind of like, I don't know, gets me a little bit excited just reading that. Like, bro, new pinnacle challenges? What the fuck does that mean? Another thing as well, in terms of Endgame, just I wanted to add this in. It's just on the bottom here. A little bit janky. But I was thinking, hey, we're never going to get solo self-found in a fucking MMO. But how about this, Blizzard? An SSF flag, okay? So basically, your account is flagged for that season as, it gets like a little solo flag, as long as you never group and never trade. Providing your account hasn't traded or grouped the entire season, you could just have like, when you view the profile, and you know, if there is going to be a leaderboard, you could just filter by solo players. And then that would allow, you know, gamers such as myself who don't want to be forced into like meta group gameplay to, you know, basically identify as a solo gamer, and then, you know, you could look at the other solo gamers and then compare yourself to them instead of the group Andes, aka micropene gamers. If you've made it this far into the video, then you've reached the end. Okay, that is pretty much the major feedback that I wanted to give based on the beta. Now, don't worry, it's not over. I will continue to give constructive criticism wherever I see it. If I see something that, you know, I think is bad or good, I will give feedback. Even if nobody wants to listen, hey, I will be there to just scream into the void. And I feel like to kind of wrap it up, the video, and to conclude it, like, hey, is this game going to be good if you're just a person who buys a game and then plays it for a bit and then quits? Like, bro, absolutely. You're absolutely going to get your money's worth. Like, bro, it's going to be a AAA game. It looks sick. It plays sick. Diablo 4 is at least going to be a good game to buy and play through once. Now, the question of, will this be a forever game that you want to log in and play for tens of thousands of hours, and you're making crazy builds and you're doing insane shit, and it's like always new content dropping and this insane in-game content you're trying to beat? Okay, that's ultimately going to come down to Blizzard. Godspeed, good luck, Blizzard, and I'll see you on launch day.